Hello there. Are you still struggling with the weight gain piece of anorexia recovery? Well, I relate. Watch the following video, like or subscribe, and peace. Hello there, my name is Billy Juliana. I'm 49 years old and I have a 40-year history of dealing with anorexia nervosa, and I'm currently following the recovery methods espoused by Tabitha Farrar, Kayla Rose Katecki, and Elisa Orris. And today I just wanted to say that this video might get a little bit dark because I'm going to go over some of the negative self-assessments that I've made against myself over the years and also that I'm grappling with right now. So before I do that though, I want to give you a little bit of a framework for what I'm about to show you. And that is going over a little bit of my history. I know a lot of you might know some of my history from previous videos, but bear with me while I get into a little bit more detail about it. Yes, I have had anorexia for 40 years. I was first diagnosed when I was age 9. I first went into treatment when I was age 9, and I bounced in and out of different types of treatment over the years. They were all the same kind of fundamental idea though. Get to a target weight, titrate your food down once you get there, regulate your exercise, and go through life basically like a restrictive person, as everyone else does, it seems. That's basically the mindset of the medical community and of society at large. But for those of us coming from restrictive backgrounds, it's dangerous to dabble in any kind of restriction. We cannot get rid of the disease that is preset in there and has been kicked off by going into energy deficit if we live in any kind of restriction. So I have to banish all restriction. That also means that I have to banish any kind of fear of weight gain or where my body weight will end up. My body will take me to a place that is optimal for its own health. I have to trust that. I keep not trusting that. I keep thinking that no, it's going to lead me to some place that's not healthy because it's mad at me for having been so restrictive over the years. But I just need to be cool and chill about this and be like, okay, my body's going to take me to a place that is optimal. Now, I want to say right now, I am not recovered from anorexia. Nope, I still have a lot of weight to gain, and I know that because my brain is still sending out so many hunger signals. Now, I've been eating unrestrictedly, pulling myself out of quasi-recovery for about 5 or 6 weeks now, and some of those extreme mental hunger signals have abated somewhat. So I do know that this method is working because my body is saying, okay, I don't need quite as much, but I still want a lot and I still have a lot of weight to gain. So just want to throw that out there too. But anyway, 2.5 years ago, I was pretty over the rest of treatment that was out there, but I was coming from a place where I was just feeling very enslaved by my disease and just hated anorexia and was struggling with eating and with food and body weight and all of that stuff. And I ran across these methods of recovery, or this method of recovery that is propounded by Tabitha, Kayla Rose, and Elisa Orris. And I was blown away. I really felt like this would be the most efficacious method for recovery for me. So I hired one of these women as my coach. And we started working in 2017, in late 2017. And let me just tell you that it took me so long to even get to the point where I was eating unrestrictedly. It took many threats from my coach of firing me as a client because I was just not getting it. Now, that does not mean that I just kept on like super restricting. I had seen, what unrestricted eating meant. And so I was adding in challenge foods and I was really challenging myself, but I kept pulling back. Another thing that I was doing was I was still practicing a lot of my OCD behaviors. I didn't even consider them OCD because I had seen what my coach's OCD behaviors looked like, and I was like, well, mine don't look anything near as bad as that. This is the competitive part of anorexia that is so toxic, by the way. And I was like, ooh, hers were terrible. Well, I don't do anything like that, and so I'm just going to carry on, doing what's comfortable for me, which wasn't really helpful for me. So I'm still today trying to undo some of the habitual behaviors that I do day in, day out that are keeping anorexia stuck in my brain, and also telling my brain that body weight is still important. And folks, we live in a world where everyone thinks that body weight is important. But for those of us coming out of anorexia or a restrictive eating disorder, we cannot feel like body weight is important anymore. It has to be off the table for me and for everyone else. My judgments about body weight go away. That is the optimal and the ideal thing, and that is what I have to be working on. And throughout the 2.5 years that I've been working with this coach, really up until last year, I should say, I did not work on that piece at all. I stayed scared of weight gain all through. Now, I was kind of okay with the weight gain I was undergoing because medically it was necessary. But once I got into the normal BMI zone, I was like, wait a minute, is this medically necessary? Well, it is medically necessary because my brain is still asking for so much food mentally, and also I've still got so much anorexic thinking going on in there that I've got to rewire. So I've really got to feed myself and eat my way through to liberation from this disease. So I didn't do any work mentally on this, and so I gained some weight, and I found myself in a place where I just hit a wall. And I'm going to show you some of the correspondence that I just dug up recently between my eating disorders coach and myself that shows you where I was a year ago. So, like I said, it took me a while to get started. In 2018, I finally got with it because my coach was like, you either go to treatment or you do your unrestricted eating. And I was like, okay. And then over the course of 2018, I kind of got better at it. And then in early 2019, I got really down and dirty with it. And I sat myself down, watched Netflix, and ate brownies all day. And I gained weight very rapidly. And this is not a video to scare people, by the way. We all should relate to rapid weight gain, and we all should not be fearing it anymore. However, you're probably watching because you are scared. So I'm just giving you what I've got, because I think it's important. So anyway, I got to that place last year and I hit a wall because the weight that I reached was the highest that it had ever been in my life, and I'd not done any kind of rewiring to pretend that the fear of weight gain wasn't there, and I had done nothing to tell myself it is not correct to even be worrying about weight gain. Do not assess yourself. Even though my coach's notes over all the months that we had worked together keep saying, do not do anything to suppress your body weight. Do not tell your brain to suppress your body weight. Her notes kept saying that, but that kept slipping by. I was just so focused on wanting to eat and wondering whether I could and asking her for permission to eat, etc. So once I got to this certain body weight, which is actually a weight that is a little bit lower than where I am now, I had a total and complete meltdown. Now, leading up to the date that I had the meltdown, I was already going, this is tough. This is really, really hard. It was wintertime of last year, and my winter coat that I had bought for myself a few years previously, that I bought in an extra large size, just contemplating the fact that I might need to gain weight, was starting to get very tight on me. And that was triggering me with every movement I made as I wore that coat. I still have that coat today, and it still triggers me. I need to get rid of it. I love that coat, by the way. It has been a great coat, but I need to get rid of it because I feel the tightness on me, and it just sends waves of panic to my brain. And I have not rewired, as I've said, any of my panic response or my fear response. Anytime I feel that, I need to go eat something. That is the basic thing to detoxify the thought that is going through my brain or the panic that is going through my brain, is to go tell myself, my brain, teach my brain that weight is not important. So if I get a fear feeling about weight gain, I need to go eat something and be like, it isn't important. So just want to throw that piece out to you as well. So I was having utter triggering by feeling myself in my new body. Things had changed. Hormonal things were going on, a lot of stuff. So at this point, I started corresponding with my eating disorders recovery coach, sending out messages saying, I don't think I can get through this. I don't think I can handle this. And so I wanted to share a little bit of this because I stumbled across it recently, and it is so bleak and it is so dark. And while it's not an uplifting message, I think a lot of you might be able to relate. So I'm sorry for this long ramble as a precursor to what I'm about to show you, but I needed to give you a little bit of the history.
These indecisions bugging me.
Okay, so now it's time to show you some of the correspondence between my eating disorders recovery coach and myself from last year. The first message dates back to about February 8th of 2019, and I have to say that when I stumbled across this series of messages about a couple of weeks ago when I was looking back at our old correspondence, I didn't know how to react, and so the way I did react was to burst out laughing. I was laughing hysterically, and hysterically is kind of the key word there because I was shocked by the vituperation that I was hurling against myself. And this is the way I have lived for 40 years. This is yet more evidence for the reasons why I should get rid of anorexia. I have tortured myself with this way of thinking for 40 years. I still have a lot of that thought process going on today. I need to be free of this because my main goal in life is to live a happy and free life. Why haven't I done this? So I know that life comes with its hardships and I've wanted to avoid them, but I've made life a lot harder by thinking and acting in this manner. So I'm going to show you this and some of her response. I have edited some of the numbers out. I don't want to mention specific numbers. And I have edited some of her words as well, not to change what she said at all, but because I don't want to quote her verbatim because I don't have her permission. But I do want to give the basic essence of what she said back to me. It's always very short and it is basically the same message over and over. Okay, so let's go ahead and roll the first email from February 8th of 2019. Thanks. Sorry, coach. My fat wrist hit something on my keyboard and sent the last email without my finishing it or editing it. That's the kind of day I'm having. Effed up because I'm such a piece of crap. Fat, oily, and smelly and disgusting. I apologize profusely for my fatism here. It's unfair and unseemly, but I can't exorcise the feelings that easily. My BMI is about X right now, and I feel horrific. And as I said on the phone last night, I still have colossal mental hunger because I still restrict, even though I eat higher calorie sweets, just restrictedly. You probably want to yell and scream at me for being a fattest, weak person, but if you have any words of support, just some to help keep me going and not jump off a bridge or start a hunger strike as of tomorrow, that'd be helpful. I don't think I'm having body dysmorphia when I get glances of how ugly I am. Sorry again, but I do feel like I'm in a crisis. The hardest part of recovery is right where I am. Not the beginning when I'm X pounds and then X plus 10 or even X plus 30, but now at X plus 40 and having a full period and broken out from head to toe in acne, starting to get BO after half a day and yet unable to sit most of the day and parceling out pieces of brownie as rewards here and there. It's a mess. Okay, so you can see from that email that I am just sitting there typing abuse after abuse after abuse against myself to show my eating disorders coach. This is not fair of me to do to myself, and it's certainly not fair for me to spread it around and try to send it to her. She didn't take it that well, and she sent me back a reassuring note, but also one that was pretty firm. So I want to show you that one as well. Coach's response. BJ, you aren't going to rewire your brain with talk like that. You are colluding with the ED, and that is not how we do recovery. Take some deep breaths and get things in perspective. Do not allow negative talk. It is an indulgence you cannot afford. Get on with recovery. Also, focus on your mental hunger and don't get distracted by negative thoughts. Go with your body and stop fighting it. Okay, you can see from her response that she wanted to keep me on track and was being very direct. And I was like, okay, I hear you. And I did. But for about a day, that lasted. And then the next day, I got up and I had triggers all around me, including my winter coat. And I just was not doing well. And I didn't reach out to talk to her, but she was concerned about me. And so she asked me how I was doing after a few days went by. And on February 13th of 2019, I sent her this note in response to her query, how are you doing? Okay, February 13th, 2019. My coach has asked me how I'm doing. This past week has been the most difficult one I have faced along the entire recovery journey so far. On Saturday morning, I had a nervous breakdown and ended up slinging food into the garbage and the sink angrily, just like I did when I first came down with anorexia at age 9. I was sobbing uncontrollably, and my mom had to hang on to me physically so that I would not stab myself or claw myself. It was that intense, the self-hatred and the nerves over my X-pound body. And the weight gain is far from over, as my mental hunger is not abated one bit, because I have gained nearly 40 pounds while still restricting. Sure, I have allowed myself some times of unrestricted eating, only to revert the next day to some sort of organized eating, etc. I live now in daily fear that I will have another breakdown. On Saturday, I almost started a hunger strike, just refusing all food immediately for the foreseeable because I was such a mess. However, I hung on after that incident and ate brunch, then later ate a nighttime snack, which is always a big meal, actually. Since then, I have had trouble with eating unrestrictedly. My size, as much as I want to ignore it or play the F-it game, always gets in the way, causing great anxiety and stabs of panic, fear, and anger. I have eaten, and the foods I eat are full of calories. I recently got in a shipment of those crazy brownies, and plus I made crazy brownies of my own, so I have a lot of brownies to feast on. But the food is tightly controlled. For the past 5 days, I've only eaten twice per day, totally skipping breakfast and dinner, eating just lunch and a nighttime snack, which is large. When I collected myself a bit after the nervous breakdown on Saturday morning, my dad asked if I should consider exercising again. I wonder about that. I told him that since I'm still restricting, exercise is technically probably not a good idea. However, I have not exercised in 18 months, and my weight, BMI, are well into the normal range, so I have been considering starting to take formal walks. What do you think about starting exercise? Aside from the exercise question, I am not sure how to get through this terrible phase of recovery. Totally terrified of any more weight gain, but suffering terrible mental hunger. Also terrified of my violent reactions to the body changes, etc. It's scary. Thanks for checking in with me, and I wish I could report better news. All right, so that should show you where I was on February 13th, 2019. Not very attractive. And on the previous Saturday when I had the little mini nervous breakdown, you can see that I was reaching out to my parents who were around and looking for support. And at some point during the day, my dad suggested exercise. And I knew that that was probably not a good idea. And of course, I wrote that to my eating disorders coach. And you'll see her response that she agrees. But I'm going to go ahead and give you the response. I do not blame my dad for suggesting that, but I just want to throw this out there that if you're in the normal BMI range and you're really struggling with the weight gain piece, you're going to get from outside some not helpful suggestions that actually are more supportive of the anorexia. And that's just because people do not understand. I do not blame my family. They just don't understand this is a disease. And unless you have it, you don't really get the inner workings of the brain that are going on. So just wanted to throw that out there. But I'm going to go ahead and run my coach's response to that February 13th email, plus a couple of other responses that she gave me over the course of the next few weeks, because I think what she said in those responses to further correspondence is really, really important. And I highlighted part of it. So let's just go ahead and run that now. Thanks. From February 13th, 2019. I don't think exercise is a good idea. You have to come to terms with your body. It's not an option. You have to work out how to stop bullying it. And then later responses from her from March and April of 2019 were, you need to eat to mental hunger. If that means you don't stop eating, then so be it. And then I highlighted this. Rewiring body negativity is a skill. You have to change your internal belief system. That means not allowing negative thoughts and certainly not entertaining them. No standing, no lower level movement. Also, your choices are to stay as you are or be brave and do the rewiring. Okay, so in a nutshell, this is the ugly stuff that we are walking around with all the time. And it can get worse. I know that some of us have resorted to actually physically harming ourselves because we can't stand the weight. I certainly have done that. I've clawed my thighs, I've clawed my arms because the weight is just too much and I want it to go away. We all get into this crazy psychotic place because weight gain is so fearful. But we need to work on desperately rewiring our thoughts about weight gain and just get on. And my recovery coach is like, hey, you know, this is hard, but you have no other choice. You can either sit where you are and just struggle, numb out with your restriction and just hang there, or you can get on with recovery and give yourself a chance. So this is pretty hard-nosed. It's very ugly, what I wrote, and it may seem like a lot of self-pity and all of that kind of stuff. There is a lot of that in there, but a lot of it is just plain old abuse. And it's not good to abuse anyone, including ourselves. So I want to just put that out there. If you're doing this in any way, shape, or form, I'm going to be like her and say, don't do it. This is not how we do recovery. And I have to say, though, that I am still working on this. I still assess myself and I still judge myself by my weight. It's gotten better. I have improved, and I do walk through life a little bit more like, you know, it really doesn't matter. Because what matters more to me right now is really Netflix and Hulu and Bravo TV and any kind of programming that I prefer, and food. That's basically what appeals to me more than anything. And on top of that, I really love music. On top of that, I kind of like writing. And on top of that, you know, there's another person in there. I'm seeing someone else in there. And it really doesn't depend on what my weight is. It's just who I am and what I can contribute to the world, which may be small by my assessment, but what does it matter? I'm existing in the world, and that's enough. So wanted to just put all this out there so I know that you can probably relate, and just to pass on the message that we don't do recovery this way, okay? It's about no more body weight suppression. We don't care what our body weights are. So going forward, eat unrestrictedly, rest for a prolonged period. Please take care, and peace. Until next time.